Talk 13. Somewhere down the crazy river. Good morning. Sometimes life feels steady, predictable, manageable. You know where you are. You know what's expected. You know roughly how the day will unfold. But then somewhere down the crazy river, something unexpected happens. There was once a monk I knew. He never missed a group meal, always present, always sitting in line with everyone else. But he would eat faster than anyone in the monastery, not because he was hungry, but because he wanted to escape unnoticed. He wanted to belong, and he wanted to disappear. He would sit with the group and then be the first one gone. I used to watch him and think, that's quite a skill, to join and vanish. If you look closely, many of us live like that. We join a WhatsApp group, but we don't repost the slogans or GIFs. We attend the gathering, but leave just before it gets too personal. We sit at the table, but keep something back. The bridge over the river. Why? We like the bridge. It's solid. It's reliable and safe. You can stand on a bridge and watch the river below. You can admire it. You can comment on it. You can feel slightly above it. But every now and then, there is also the urge to jump in. Not because you are unhappy, just because the river is moving and something in you is curious. Why not? You choose to jump. You didn't choose the current. As one rock musician once said, you might as well jump. And sometimes we do. Somewhere down the crazy river. Years ago, I went with my teacher, Ajahn Thông, to the hill tribe area outside of Chiang Mai, far northwest of Thailand. He had asked me to bring a Western yogi along, a meditator. So I chose Claude, a friendly Canadian who had just finished his basic month-long meditation retreat. We traveled to a remote Karen hill tribe village. And just to clarify, these are not the internet Karens in the TikTok sense. Those loud Karens who hurl wheelie bins at managers. No. Not a tribe of those Karens living up in the hills. The ethnic Karen people, they wear beautiful, traditional, colored costume every day, everywhere. The scene was a beautiful, idyllic, lime green rice valley with wooden houses with no nails, hardly any electricity, oil lamps and candles, mist hanging in the nearby blue hills. Ajahn gave a quiet Dharma talk to the assembled villagers as the sun went down. After the Friday night talk, Ajahn would be leaving by car. I had asked if it was possible for Claude and I to stay a night or two, and the village headman had agreed. It was so peaceful compared to the busy temple in Chiang Mai, which was full of PA systems, blaring. We felt free. The next day, we went exploring. We found a big river behind some bushes and trees. It looked beautiful. Wide, brown water, warm, apparently gentle. Claude did what many Westerners would do. He went in for a swim. He took off his clothes and lowered himself in. He paddled there, smiling at me, head and shoulders above the water. "Oh, it's amazing. It's deep. You should jump in," he said. From the bank, the water looked calm. So, no one being around, I thought, should I? What if? But no one is around. It does look like a great idea. So I stripped off and jumped. And immediately, instead of the leisurely, comforting, and refreshing sensation of still flowing waters, I was swept fast away by a current as powerful as a train, surging along, carrying me deep out into the middle of the river, flowing fast. The water gurgled and murmured as it ploughed on, sweeping us both along with no sign of either actually any real danger or any chance of doing anything about it. Carried along and surrendering to the powerful currents. As I entered the water, I felt that split-second fear between laughter and quickly realizing what was happening. Were we both in danger? No. It seemed we just had to let go and see what happened, where it was taking us. The fear subsided and relaxed. Claude was clearly comfortable in water, and I swim fine. As we accepted the new situation, we started laughing. At first a little, then more, and then giggling ridiculously at the out of control nature of this bizarre situation. Claude, sneakily, had been secretly clinging to a submerged branch under the surface, knowing full well that the current was extremely strong. He let go, and the two of us were carried downstream, laughing hysterically, unable to paddle against the current at all. It wasn't until maybe half a mile later we managed to grab bushes and, exhausted, haul ourselves out from the rapid flowing river. Still laughing at the sheer ridiculousness of the situation we found ourselves in. All the stress and tension that had built up over the previous months of pressure and responsibility released as we laughed uncontrollably with tears rolling down our faces. The more we realized how far our clothes were away, like half a mile back upstream, and the more ridiculous and embarrassing and impossible the scene became to us, we couldn't stop laughing even more. And between us and our clothes were 25 villagers working in the rice fields. We were going to have to sneak, bush to bush, pretty much completely naked, holding just a few strategic leaves, hoping the wide-brimmed rice hat villagers were politely looking down or elsewhere. That walk back, what I was thinking was, what did we look like? And how could we possibly escape being seen as we hopped from tree to bush to tree? Would Ajahn hear about it all? Would the villagers be angry at us? The village headman? What else could we do? It was ridiculous, embarrassing, completely unnecessary. The river had looked calm from the bank. Most of our life decisions are made from the riverbank. We think, it will be fine. It's easy. After all, look at them. They look calm. As they paddle underneath, clinging to subcurrent branches to stop from being swept away. We think, I can handle this. We think, I'll just have a little adventure. Ego often dresses itself up as adventure. And then we discover that under the surface, there is a current. And once you are in, it rips you away. Once I signed up for something I didn't really want to do, just because it sounded bold. 3 days later, I was secretly hoping it would be cancelled. Has anyone ever volunteered enthusiastically and then prayed to get out of it somehow, like by rain? The branch you grab may be what injures you. At least in the river, Claude knew exactly what he was clinging to, the branch, and he could let go. Have you ever grabbed something in panic and made it worse, clinging to it, like pulling a stuck drawer handle so hard that it comes off in your hands? We love the bridge, that bridge of reason, the bridge over the river. Why? But something in us does love the river too. At my home temple in Chiang Mai, life was too stable. Same schedule, same routine, same chanting. It was safe. And yet, after a while, a voice inside whispers, there must be more than this. Where did the adventure go? I let go. Even small jumps can do it. Once, I rearranged my room in the monastery. Just moved the table to the other side. But for 2 days, my body kept walking into the old empty space, like a confused pigeon. Have you ever noticed how attached we get, not just to identity, but even to where the chair goes? Here's something simple. Before you change anything big, change something small. Move one habit gently and see how the mind reacts. One time, while I was in India, I received a call that my mother had been rushed into hospital in England. I spoke to my father on the phone. His tone was serious, heavy. When I ended the call, I noticed a strange smell, the distinct smell of burning, not toast or something cooking. It smelled like burning plastic. Was it my electrics? The plugs? No. Was it my devices? No. It was getting stronger. I opened the bathroom door. God, much stronger burning smell. Fine smoke hung in the air. Something was definitely wrong. I stepped into the front corridor. I saw 2 teenagers stood standing frozen against the opposite wall, and black smoke was pouring from the neighbor's window into the corridor. I looked, and inside, 2 bearded men were frantically throwing bowls of water at a seething mass of flames billowing up the walls and across the ceiling. It was already very out of control. Roaring and snapping, crackling and hissing, people shouting, calling. Fire extinguishers! Where are the fire extinguishers? I thought. I grabbed one, rushing back to one of the men who set about activating it. Then I ran up the stairs of the building, sandals flapping, robes flapping too, breathlessly returning with one extinguisher from each level of the building. Between runs, I rushed back into my room, stuffing my laptop and anything looking valuable into a case and dragging it outside. I realized my emergency evacuation plan was mainly about saving my devices. What a scramble. Eventually, the men emerged, coughing. The fire is out. Silence returned. The strange calm as black soot and dust settled on everything. No one was hurt. Faulty electrics had sparked it all off. All of this had begun for me with the thought that my mother might die. It had never entered the equation that I might die before her. Nothing clarifies priorities like possible spontaneous combustion. I might have died before her. Just that idea had never entered into things. It was assumed she would die, and then for me, there was another 20 years or so. Not that I might die before her. There was no rule. My brother, after all, had died a few years back. I imagined meeting her in heaven. She would look at me and say, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Stability is a story we tell ourselves between alarms. The river changes direction without warning. I was good at drawing. It was comfortable. I gained recognition. And then something else in me said, if you stay here in drawing world, you will shrink, devolve. You won't grow. Growth begins where certainty ends. So we jump. We change careers. We move countries. We start new projects. We enter relationships. We ordain, which is all of those. And often the current is stronger than we imagined. And what do we do when the current feels strong? We grab for branches. Approval is a branch. Identity is a branch. Uniforms are branches. Clinging feels like safety, but it is tension. When we were swept down that river, what did we do? We grabbed branches, bushes, anything solid. But the river is not the problem. Resistance is. Clinging feels intelligent in the moment. It feels like survival. Most suffering is from gripping, not drowning. You're not drowning right now. It is gripping too hard. We cling in subtle ways. Approval is clinging. Has anyone here checked their phone twice in under 10 seconds? Just in case some form of appreciation arrived late. We say we don't care what people think, but a single raised eyebrow can rearrange our mood for hours. We post something, we wait, we speak, we scan the faces in the room. We tell a story, we check if it resonated. Approval feels like oxygen. Anyone notice how quickly mood changes when the room goes quiet? When you depend on approval, you start steering towards applause, and applause shifts with the crowd. If you rely on it, your direction changes whenever the audience does. That is not freedom, that is drifting. Identity is clinging. I am this kind of person. I don't do that. This is who I am. It sounds stable, but identity is often just a frozen snapshot. The river moves. Loosen the grip. When I first ordained, I thought, am I a monk yet? Within a week, I managed, using a spoon, to eat a whole large family-sized tin of Milo, malted chocolate powder, 1.2, or was it 1.32 kilograms I'd been offered. I realized I was just myself in different clothes. That the robes don't automatically bestow powers and upgrade your character. Identity is stubborn. The more tightly we defend it, the more fragile we feel when life shifts. Tightly defending who you are makes you feel even more fragile. Planning is clinging. Planning is not wrong. Living inside your plans is. Here's a small practice. If you catch yourself replaying tomorrow, return to one breath. Just one. Not enlightenment. One breath. I once rehearsed a difficult conversation for 3 days. When it came, the other person said, "No, it's okay. I've already sorted that out." 3 days of adrenaline for nothing. The body does not know the difference between a tiger and a Thursday meeting. We brace against rivers we are not even in yet. We plan holidays so carefully that we need a holiday afterwards to recover. Spiritual image is clinging. This one is the most subtle. I once adjusted my tone in a talk because someone in the front row seemed to look unimpressed. Afterwards, I realized they were just squinting at the slides. We want to be seen as calm, balanced, deep. We don't want to be the monk who lost control on the icy hill. Control is the tightest form of fear. We don't want to be the person who panicked in the smoky corridor. So we polish, we adjust our tone, we smooth the rough edges. Even in silence, we perform. There is always a subtle pressure to appear awakened rather than simply human. But awakening is not an image. It is not a performance. Awakening is not an upgraded personality. It is the ability to enter the current without resistance, to remain steady when life moves. If you hold a branch too tightly, your hands bleed. If you hold your identity too tightly, your heart bleeds. The Buddha did not say, build a stronger bridge. He said, understand the river. You can participate in life without gripping it. You can receive approval without feeding on it. Approval is a rented identity. You can plan without living in anxiety. You can practice without performing. An island unto yourselves does not mean isolation, it means steadiness. The river may move wildly, but inside you are not thrashing, you are floating. Floating requires less strength than fighting. When tension rises, relax the jaw first. It is very hard to cling with a relaxed jaw. At a temple open day in Davao, Philippines, everyone on the committee wore matching pale blue shirts with a logo embroidered over the heart. It was suggested I might wear one too. I thanked them and stayed in my robe. I wanted to stand with them, but not disappear into uniform. On a retreat in Sydney, people were sharing about deep openings and profound shifts. When it came to me, I tried simply saying, well, it was balanced. There is always a subtle pressure to perform your spirituality, to present your river story as more impressive than it really was. We don't mind jumping into life, as long as we can still feel a solid anchor or grip in our hands. Sometimes the more tightly we cling, the more frightened we become. I once bought a notebook to become more organized. For 3 days, I wrote beautiful lists, color-coded, numbered, very impressive. Then I spent more time reorganizing the lists than doing anything on them. Has anyone ever optimized the plan instead of living it? Impulse sometimes feels like courage. It can feel like reclaiming youth. One winter night in my hometown, I was walking home late. The sky was crystal clear. The hill overlooking the town was frozen smooth from weeks of sledging. At the top, tied to a metal post, was a homemade sledge. It was an old, shiny car bonnet turned upside down. One of those moments. Shall I? I could feel the weight of it pulling against the rope. Eager, I untied it. No sooner had I released it than it shot sideways towards a high embankment, with me half on, half off, racing down the ice like a psychotic bobsleigh. At the end of this slope, a sharp 50-foot drop. Parked cars below were lining the street. In those few seconds, the only question was, how do I get off this thing? I lunged sideways. The bonnet flew off the embankment. I came to a halt, lay staring at the night sky, breathless, heart pounding, waiting to hear the crash of smashed windscreens. Boom, it thumped, hissed along the snow, another boom into a wall, and stopped. Silence. I looked down. It had landed in the one empty space in the entire row. A near miracle. Gravity had taught me a spiritual lesson. At that moment, I realized something profound. I'm not as in control as I thought. Also, I'm not as clever as I thought. I was getting older, perhaps not yet wiser. Most danger does not announce itself. It simply waits for us to untie the rope. The Buddha once said, be an island unto yourselves, not an island of ego, an island of steadiness. You can enter the current so long as you can become one with the current. And there is another current that carries us, the future. Forecasting the future is not the same as living it. And sometimes the river isn't outside us at all. It's running through the heart. I once lay in bed at 2 a.m., planning a meeting at 9 a.m. By the time it arrived, I was exhausted from attending it twice. Psychologists even have a name for it: anticipatory stress. The body reacts to things that have not yet happened. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, cortisol releases, all because of an unexpected and imagined meeting next Thursday. There aren't any real dangers, no tiger, no fire, just a calendar entry. Remember, the body can't tell the difference between a tiger and a Tuesday. Raise your hand if your mind jumped to tomorrow at least once today. And keep your hand up if your mind has jumped to tomorrow more than 5 times. So you can put your hand down. And just notice, when you think about tomorrow, does the body lean forward slightly? Do your shoulders, shoulder blades, neck muscles tighten? The river you are worrying about, you're not even in yet. We stand on the bridge, imagining rapids downstream, and exhaust ourselves before we even jump. Checking the weather forecast doesn't change the weather. Worrying about the future does not control it. Strategizing is not the problem. Overliving inside our imaginings of the strategy is. You can plan without moving in to the plan. Write it down once and close the notebook. Planning ends when the pen stops. Who here replans the same plan 3 times? Real life, someone said, is what happens while you are busy making other plans. And so, perhaps the question is not whether we stand on the bridge or jump into the river. Perhaps the question is, how do we relate to the current when we are already in it? Because we are in it. Age is a current. Health is a current. Other people's opinions are a current. Comparison promises height. It delivers erosion. Maybe in the Enlightenment Zen Olympics, competitors compare who has achieved empty nothingness the fastest. Because nothing fuels meditation like mild competition. Remember, we were born to be mild. I once went on a silent retreat in England. The man at the next bed was so calm, radiating serenity, so obedient, punctual, so well ordered, such a fantastic meditator, much better than me. When the retreat was over, I chatted to another roommate. I told him about my admiration for the other next bed man's self-discipline. The man laughed. Didn't you hear? He said. He was thrown off the course because every night he was sneaking out and going to the pub. Time itself is a current. You cannot stop the river. You cannot freeze water for comfort, like trying to freeze time. You cannot reverse it. You cannot negotiate with it. But you can change how you hold yourself within it. When we cling, the body tightens, the jaw sets, shoulders lift, the breath shortens. We become rigid. Rigid things snap. And most of us are trying to be rigid. But water does not snap. Water moves. Water yields. Water adjusts to the shape of the rock without losing its nature. If you enter the river and thrash, you exhaust yourself. If you stiffen, you sink. But if you float, if you allow the water to carry you, something very different happens. Floating is not passivity. Floating looks lazy, yet it is actually highly advanced physics. I was out shopping in a hardware bathroom supply store, and I saw a sign, stainless steel sinks. Yes, I thought, well, I already know that. Floating is trust. It is the quiet recognition that life is already moving. And you do not have to push it. Right now, as you sit here, notice something very simple. You are breathing. You're not forcing it. You're not planning the next breath. You're not clinging to the previous one. It arrives, it leaves. The river flows, and your awareness remains floating. This is what it means to be an island unto yourself. Not building walls, not isolating from the world, but finding that steady ground that is not swept away by every opinion, every fear, every imagined tomorrow. Somewhere down the crazy river, we will all be carried. Somewhere we will lose control. Somewhere we will laugh at our own foolishness. And somewhere we will realize the river was never the enemy. It was movement. So, float.